Hey everybody, this is Mike Bono from the North Andover Athletic Association, and you are listening to the Nightly News Podcast, the show that brings you inside the lines of North Andover High School athletics. All right, welcome back to the Nightly News Podcast. Mike Bono here, and look who's here with me, Al Aperti, my sidekick. Finally, we get to do a podcast together, the first time in a long time.
Been a long time, yeah, probably since October.
I did the girls basketball captain podcast by myself. You did the boys.
Yep.
But finally, here we are. And before I introduce our special guest today, I just want to remind everybody the Night of Comedy, Saturday, April 8th, 7 p.m. The doors open.
8 p.m.
8 o'clock show. NAAnights.org to buy tickets. You're Snapchatting or TikBooking or whatever the link's out to remind people.
I'm Facebooking it out. I'm tweeting it out. Yep.
All right. I think I've used that joke too many times on here, like the Snap book or whatever. So
you're in
anyway.
You're in Belichick.
Yeah. But buy tickets at 10 if you want to sit with all your friends.
Right.
Tables at 10.
Yeah. Best way to do it. Tables at 10. It's a little bit discounted than the single tickets. I think we're doing table at 10 for $275 and $30 individual tickets. So grab a table, invite 9 of your friends.
Should be a fun night at the Clatter on April 8th. So our special guest is Coach Todd Doolin, head baseball coach, boys baseball coach at North Andover High School. Welcome to the podcast, Coach.
Thank you guys very much for having me here tonight.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So you are entering your 16th year, if my math is correct. You started in 2007, and prior to that, you coached freshmen for 4 years, right? So you've been in the program for like a long time.
Yes, I coached freshman baseball. Coach Strobel hired me. I was teaching in Lawrence at the time, and I saw the opening and went and asked. He said, "Yeah, sure, we'd love to have you," and been here ever since. And it helped me get my foot in the door back over to teaching in North Andover.
Because you're a history teacher at the high school as well. I saw a picture of you from like your first year when you were coaching, and you look like you could have been on the team. Like
I had all my hair and no grays. And
you look like you're an 18-year-old senior. Not that you look old now. I'm just saying that you look young. No. So in addition to coaching the baseball team, you also help Coach Mark with the ski team, assistant ski coach.
Yep. This was my 4th season helping out with Coach Mark at skiing. And I've learned a lot from him, especially I think his number one message is, everyone on that ski team is important, no matter whether they're the number one racer or, the last racer on JV. I think he does a good job of making everyone feel special and holding everyone accountable for, what he's looking for. So
yeah, and I guess just as a quick aside, he just coached his 50th season of ski in North Andover, and I know you graduated from North Andover High. He was probably in his 30th year when you were at the high school. But he's a legend, right?
Yeah, no, he knows how to teach skiing, and if just yesterday we were out there with the juniors, who are going to be the leaders on next year's ski team, and seeing the improvement on some of these skiers from when they came in as freshmen to now, and I think what I love about skiing is it's a lifelong activity. I work up at Sunday River on the weekends, and one of the guys I work with, he actually just retired, but he was out there skiing into his 80s.
Wow.
So you can, it's something you can do forever.
Yeah.
I don't know, the last time I played basketball, my Achilles exploded.
So getting back to baseball, in 2019, you achieved your 200th win as head baseball coach at North Andover High, which is, that just must have flown by, right? Like, what does that mean to you, getting your 200th win as baseball coach?
I actually kind of wasn't paying attention to it, and I didn't realize it was my 200th win. And then after the game, the Andover coach was saying, "Hey, give that ball back." One of our kids, I don't know if it was Sebastian or someone's like, no, we're not going to give it back. And then they like, congratulations, coach. And then the paper came out, and I knew it was somewhere in the area, but I didn't know it was, that game. But Tom Keene made sure, they all had a marker and wrote on it. So that was special.
200th win and a state championship in the same season, correct?
Yeah, it was one of those magical years. We started off really strong, and then in the middle of the season, we faced Lowell, who's also got into the Super 8 that year, and they had our number, and I think it was like a 1-1 game, and then we booted a ball. They won 2-1, and then we had them again. We were up again, and their shortstop, I think he's at Vanderbilt now. That kid could hit, and he beat us. He launched a ball in the right field, and they got us twice, and kind of knocked us back.
Yeah, that was late. That
Yeah.
second game, right? That was really late in the season when you last 2 games or something
Yeah,
like that.
and we couldn't hit, and then we played Tewksbury the next day, and Tewksbury was that year didn't have a great record, and we still weren't hitting. And Ryan Griffin was a freshman. We were out of pitching. Threw Ryan out there, and he threw 6 shutout innings as a freshman.
Nice. And
we got the win, 1-0. We walked off in the 7th, and then kind of stabled everything, and they started hitting again. I think part of it, Jake McElroy was a little hurt, and he was our huge bat in the lineup that year. Speaking of Jake, he's currently leading Holy Cross in hitting right now. He's hitting .316.
Nice.
So he's off to a good start.
Wow. I mean, that team, plus the kids that were underclassmen on that team, Sebastian, obviously, now with the Yankees,
Yes.
drafted, left Northeastern. Jake at Holy Cross, as you said. Brendan Holland and Trevor Crosby now at
UMass
Lowell.
Yeah.
Brett Dunham at Northeastern. I mean, just a hotbed
Brett
for baseball.
And Ryan Griffin's down at Northeastern also. Brett pitched well in relief twice so far this year. Hasn't let up a run yet. So
nice.
And they were all, I think, Sebastian and Jake and the seniors on that
Thomas
team.
Finn was on that team, right?
Yeah.
He's played out
Yeah,
there.
they were all 3-year starters on varsity. And they had taken some lumps 2 years in a row. As when they were sophomores, we got bounced in the first round, and then again when they were juniors, we were in both games we were up, and then gave it away at the end. And that next year, that was kind of after the Super Bowl. I was coaching, was the quarterback coach and receivers coach, and after we won the Super Bowl, Jake came over and gave me a big hug, and he goes, "We're going to win it in baseball too." He's like, "Coach, we're going to win it this year in baseball." So they had that mentality no matter what, and weren't afraid of anyone. So.
Yeah, we got to get Jake on here because that kid might have had the best senior year athletically in the MVC history, possibly. I mean, won the Super Bowl in the fall. Basketball team, he was the point guard. They went, I think, 2 rounds deep, maybe 3.
Yeah, I think they lost in the North Finals.
Yeah, and then he was a shortstop and closer and best hitter, you said, on the team that won the championship in the spring in baseball.
And it was a remarkable achievement, but what was even more remarkable was the first 8 seed to win it all, right? And you're beating, I think you beat BC High during that
Franklin.
during that run, Franklin.
Well, thank God I was at the BC High game. They were playing Lowell because Lowell, they were 4 or 5, and we knew whenever Seb pitched, we should win.
Right.
Or you'd have to do something extraordinary to beat us. He was the best player in this Gatorade, Player of the Year, and he didn't pitch his best game against Franklin, but he pitched really well. And we had Franklin on the ropes the whole game. And McElroy got the big hit, bases loaded. I think it was a triple, cleared the bases. And then we held on at the end. There was a catcher's interference.
Wow.
Jack Morin looks at me. It's 1st and 3rd, 2 outs. Jack probably threw out 50% of the runners. I didn't even give him I said, yeah, throw him out. He looks at me, throw him out. and it's a hit and run. The kid falls over the plate. I don't know if it was a hit and run, but it was live AB. Jack goes to throw and hits the kid. Umpire, it's game over.
Right?
Yeah, and it was kind of a wild way. And then Coach Blank, Dave Blank, looks at me and goes, maybe we have a chance here. You're gonna need to get a free something or other. And then the next game against BC High, Thomas Finn, to mention, he's the best bunter we've ever had. And I think McElroy led off the game. I don't know if he walked or got a hit. And then their third baseman was back, and Thomas Finn the signal bunt for a hit. And he was going to do it anyway. And he rolls one. Their pitcher comes, picks it up, throws it in the right field. McElroy scores. Finn's on third. I think we scored 3 in the first, 1 in the, and then, and then the game gets to 4-4, and Holland comes in relief and just throws, fly ball out after fly ball out after fly ball out. He could pitch the ball wherever you told him. Throw it here, he throws it there, and. But going back to the Lowell game, we didn't want to see Lowell again. They just, going back to the year before, they'd beaten us 3 times in a row. And Lowell stole third base against BC High. And they had the momentum. They were up in the game, and the kid slid by third and got tagged out. And it ended an inning. And then BC High went up, and they ended up holding on. The big kid who went to Vandy hit one to the warning track with runners all over the place. He catches it, and that was kind of the game. I was rather see BC High than Lowell.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I forgot Jack Moore, and not that I forgot him, but and now Aiden Lynch, right, from last year. He's at Salem State. So, what is it about this, like North Andover specifically, but just in this area? It seems to be a hotbed for talent. Like I don't know if you can put a finger on it, but in talking to Coach Newland last August from Babson, like he was saying, you guys have a strong baseball background up here in this area.
I think it's dads that love baseball. I really do. When you look at going even back, Tyler Levitt, the Levitts are a big baseball family from Peabody. They happened to move to North Andover. In his career, he was 17-0 at the high school, and then pitched Southern Maine into the College World Series his freshman year. Went undefeated that year too. And just kids like that. Tom Geen played baseball at Hamilton. He teaches in Andover. His kids could have went to Andover. I think Chris went to middle school, all the way up through middle school in Andover, but then ended up coming to North Andover. And, they just baseball fanatics. And if you have enough parents, and I think Mr. Bramante, I think he played in Peabody, and, Joey just finished up at UMaine.
Rob Carpentier played, I forget where he played in college. But
UNH.
UNH, yeah. And he was a coach at BC for a little bit.
And he was from Andover.
And he's from Andover, yeah.
But happened to move to North Andover. I guess you get lucky and you get these,
And that's even with kids like Stephen Hodger, right?
Yeah.
He lived in North Andover, from North Andover, but went to Central. The Remley kids who went to St. John's Prep. Tristan Latham, who went to Phillips Andover.
And Bill Burt's, son.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, do you have conversations with these kids about like their intentions to go to? I mean, you can't really stop them, but like.
No, I think they need to go where they want to go.
Yeah.
Because, you're not going to be guaranteed playing time if you come to North Andover, and I'm not begging you to come because you don't know who's going to grow. You don't know who's going to actually put the work in when they're in 7th or 8th grade to a junior or senior in high school. There's such a big, difference in who they are. I think I was talking to the kids today. We had our baseball meeting. And junior year, Joey Bramante couldn't even do a pull-up. He went from like 5'9" to 6'5" in a few months. and he was so physically weak he couldn't do a pull-up,
Sure.
And now he just graduated from UMaine, second all-time RBIs, hitting home runs, double,
Right.
all over the place. And so who's going to put the work in? Who's going to, I want you to want to come here. If you want to go to Central or St. John's, go ahead,
I'm always surprised at the kid in 8th grade who's a superstar, but I'm always surprised at the middle tier kid, maybe A-team kid, but not a starter, or maybe a starter, but when they choose to go to Central or places like that, if they want to play sports, only because, when my daughter growing up, right, we got through 7th grade, she was a soccer player, midi, and I said, look around, there's a lot of good talent in front. You could play goalie, though. She ends up playing goalie. But, when you go to Central, you don't know who that kid in Wyndham is. That's a year behind you. You might be the best catcher in that class, but there's some kid from Wyndham or some kid from Pelham or somewhere, and I just think it's funny. It's just a tough way to go through because, when you're in town who you're going to be competing with for the next 3 years for a spot. So it's just interesting to me.
Yeah. So last year, going back to 2019, I think you were the longest reigning Super 8 champion because of COVID, right? So the following year, and you had some good players.
Oh yeah,
and you could. I'm sure you were.
That was the worst, sickest feeling, educationally, coaching wise, and they worked so hard. Jack Moran and Berberich and Caporal. I mean, they just Eric Whitehead. They worked their butts off, and they wanted to get back there again. And I think they would have been in the mix when you look at the pitching and, great players graduated, but we had a lot of guys back. So I think if you look at the 2019 roster, I think 13 or 14 of the 25 kids on the postseason roster went to play in college.
Wow.
So, and a lot of them were underclassmen, that eventually would go and play. So.
Sure. Baseball's hard, basketball to a degree, football to a degree. If you have the best player on the field, you can often will yourself to a win, Baseball doesn't always happen that way. It really doesn't, It's just because of the offense defense part of it, the pitching, just the luck. You hit a ball on the screws right at a guy, 5 feet to the left, 5 feet to the right, you win the game.
Yeah, I think that's the fun part of the game, too,
Sure.
because the ability, the mental approach, and the ability to say, so what? All right, we got to move on to the next play. You can't bring your AB out into the field, so what? The pitch was 6 inches off the plate, he called it a strike, then it's a strike.
Right.
There's nothing you can do about that. You can be pissed for a second and curse under your glove, no one should hear you. And then it's got to be gone, and you got to move on to the next play. High school especially is a race to 21 outs. The team that gets there the quickest usually wins.
So fast forward to last year, you guys were the 8th seed and lost a game you probably should have won. I think the team would maybe agree with that. But in the round of 32. What, as you look back on last year and you kind of look at this year, what's sort of the outlook on 2023 spring season for the team?
Well, we have a big turnover from last year. We had a lot of seniors, and most of our lineup was a senior lineup. So we're going to be young. We're going to be structured quite differently. I think last year you'd wait for, Lynchy or Crosby to, smash one off the wall. I think we're going to run a lot more. That was one of the things we didn't do as much. We had some injuries too that prevented us from running. Kids who normally run had slight hammy pulls where we don't want to exacerbate stuff. But we're going to have to put the ball in play and move. And we got the athletes to do that, I think. Also, pitching-wise, I think we'll be in just about every game. And it's just, can we scratch some runs out and put some runs on the board?
How many seniors you got on the team this year versus juniors? Anybody up and coming that you're kind of excited about? Well,
we have a bunch of pitchers, senior pitchers that are back. That'll certainly help us. Jake Denny, Zach Thorne. Zach Goldman's coming off of a foot injury, but hopefully he'll be ready to go. So those three guys are really going to help us in the bullpen. And then senior captain Liam Trundy plays second base. And then we have two junior captains. They're both, kind of extraordinary kids. They love baseball and they get after it. And the fact that they were both voted almost unanimously as captains as juniors says a lot. But Dom Piffini is a left-handed pitcher. He went 4-0 for us on the mound last year. And then David Johnson's been starting since he was a freshman. And he just hits. And we've had a lot of great defensive outfielders, and he's right there with the best of the best. He's actually really fun to watch, the way he tracks fly balls in the outfield. And then Cam Partridge played a bit for us last year between DH and outfield when we had some injuries. And he's a really good athlete, and I think he'll do well. And then senior catcher Jack Hawley, he ended up by the end of the year starting the last couple games for us, and he can handle the bat well, and I think, he'll hit either first or second in our lineup, and he runs the bases well also. So those guys we're kind of looking at and to help us out for upperclassmen. And then pitching-wise, freshman, he was outstanding year as a freshman last year. He went 4-0, including beating Andover, as Cole Mullen. I think he's the real deal. Him and Dahmer will definitely pitch in college.
Sure.
And then I love, Farrow at shortstop, and he's a really good pitcher too. So I think.
What do you, we know what major leagues do. What do you do as far as like a rotation? Do you 3 starters, or you play 2 or 3 games a week? What do you?
Yeah, we usually go with 3 starters. I think that's especially early. We're trying to keep their, there is a pitch count now, but
right.
We never got close to that last year. But especially early, keep the pitch count lower.
Is it a weekly pitch count or a game per game, or what's?
It's in the game. What is it? If they go above 25 pitches, they need 1 day off, and then it kind of goes from there. It tops out at 115.
Okay.
Just like a little league model, just with a few more pitches per day.
Yeah, we were actually the only state. I think there were like 2 states left in the country that did not have a pitch count, and one of them was Massachusetts.
Wow.
So, being on the Mass Baseball Coaches Association board, they basically said, 1, we're going to federation rules, so you have to have a pitch count. And that was for liability purposes. You have more protection under the federation rules. And so we got out ahead of it and said, all right, sat down with the coaches, what do you think for numbers and days rest? And we looked at pretty much every other state, so we're in the ballpark, where everyone else is.
What's the, how's the MVC stacking up this spring?
It's going to be good.
It's always good.
Yeah, no, it'll be scary as always. Central's very veteran this year. We managed to win the league on them by about a game last year. Andover was right there. So I think Andover and Central will be very strong. And then Chelmsford is just loaded. They have probably the best pitcher in the league, the big righty there. I think we lost to him last year 1-0. Him and Griff pitched great games.
And now with the MIAA and the power rankings and all that stuff, have you booked some difficult out of conference games?
We've always tried to, because when we were in the Cape Ann League, it got to the point where teams, other than like North Reading, Newburyport, and Masco, and Linfield, they all try to beat you and then throw their ace at you. But you'd play some of the other teams in the league, and they'd throw their number 3 pitcher.
Right, because they know no matter what.
And so you're seeing, so we used to schedule, we've scheduled CM for a long time. You're going to see 80s, and then also we CM and MC, and now we have BC High. they had a spot open up. We'd been trying to get them for a while. So BC High on there, CM. Westford called this year. I guess they have a really good lefty, legit like college kid, mid to high 80s. So we'll see him on the opener, which is what you want.
Right.
You know. And now you get rewarded. You didn't always get rewarded for it.
It's better to lose to a team like that, 2-1, than to beat somebody
Amesbury, right.
8-0.
Yeah.
Right.
No, we go play Manchester, Essex, and score a couple touchdowns in the first inning, and that wasn't fun.
Sure. Question I always ask coaches, but since we've been doing this, what do you tell them the 6th grader, the 7th grader that wants to play for you in high school? What are you looking for? What should they be doing? What should they be working on?
I always, they've all heard this story a billion times, but he's a former captain, and actually the first year I got the varsity job, he was the 3rd catcher. I coached him when he was a freshman. I don't know if he got a hit the entire year, maybe 1 or 2. His name's Taylor Livingston. Maybe he had 2 hits. Didn't throw a single kid out. And he was this scrawny little weak kid. And he just worked his butt off. And then when I got the head coaching job, he was a junior. He was behind 2 catchers. One was a senior captain. Another was a stud that transferred in from the prep. And so these 2 really good players. And they both got hurt. So by the 4th game of the year, he's the starting catcher. And he ended up, being the 2nd best hitter on our team. The next year he was a all-Tribune player and led us to a league championship. But he worked his butt off. And then he went and played at Thomas College. And it's just kind of that mindset. If you want to play, and, it's not. And when I talk to Taylor, I hear from him maybe once a year. And he's like, he understands, he earned his playing. He earned every second of his playing time. Nothing was given to him. And it's kind of, if you want to play here, you got to earn your keep. And you can do that through hard work. So what are you doing in the off season? What do you, Coach Blanco, he says, what are you doing when no one's looking?
Yeah.
Are you on the couch playing video games, or are you, you see, like, I know Jack Moran wasn't doing that. He's got, like, hitting things going on in his room and this and that, and he's on, throwing the ball off the wall, sticking tennis balls while he's watching TV. Those are the kids that help you win league championships and state championships. Those are the kids you want to coach because they're fun to be around. It's infectious when they have that kind of attitude.
And so baseball's a tricky sport, right, for like overuse injuries.
Oh, yeah.
And, you've been coaching long enough, 16 years now, and I'm sure some things have evolved with club baseball, kids playing. I mean, like fall ball is like a big thing. Like fall ball is almost as popular as spring baseball now. So,
Yeah.
Just talk about sort of the overuse and like, can they play too much?
Definitely.
Like, how are you guiding them through season to season?
Well, I think, one story is, when Mike Hashem was maybe going to get drafted or not get drafted, I don't know if it was the Phillies or someone came to watch him play basketball. They wanted to see, what kind of athlete he was, how he ran up and down the court, how he composed himself on the basketball court, And the other thing is this. We've had a number of pitchers that you would project out and say they would probably be a Division I pitcher that never threw an inning for us because they were doing, too much at a young age before, the ligaments and joints have developed, and doing them improperly. And one of the things that scares me the most, is the heavy ball stuff. Yes, you can increase your velocity, you can increase your speed, but a lot of these guys will go, and let's say they'll go to a clinic that Tom House actually does, or one of Tom House's closest people do, and they know what they're doing, but then stuff gets lost in translation on the way home. All right, now we're going to do this heavy ball stuff, and if you're not doing it properly, and if your mechanics are improper, you will blow your shoulder out, or you're going to blow your elbow out.
House is the underload overload theory, right?
Yeah,
The heavy
and-
ball, the lighter ball.
And if he's working with Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's a grown man, but I just find they'll do too much. There've been a number of AAU coaches that, overthrow kids in the summertime. And
Right.
It's like, what do you mean you threw 130 pitches? You've never thrown more than
Right.
75 as a sophomore in high school. What do
On a
you-
meaningless tournament
Yeah,
in July,
and now,
right?
Coach, I think I might have to go in and get my elbow looked at. You won the championship of Flemington, New Jersey
Right.
for this weekend. They
Right.
just had another
They
one
had
the
two of
weekend,
them, right,
the
since
weekend
then, yeah.
before.
Right.
Well, I mean, a lot of that falls on the parents, right? Like
Yeah.
the parents are, they for whatever reason, but
To tell the kids you're in charge of you. Try to reiterate that over and over and over again. But when they're younger, like that,
Right.
8th grade, 9th grade, they don't.
Yeah, you can't. You don't think ahead. Yeah,
But-
sure.
So hopefully, try to prevent those things. And I think the other thing is the build-up program. What are you doing? Are you in a program? If not, you need to do some type of build-up program. And then the stretch cord stuff is so important. So
long ago were the days when guys like Tommy Glavine would play hockey all winter long, and whatever in the fall.
First
and then,
time he touched his glove was the
April.
first day of practice, right?
Yeah.
Since August.
But you could sneak in the gym before school in the
Yeah.
morning, and in 10 minutes have your entire routine done. Get your buddy in there. You don't need a catcher with a mask on. Just play catch.
Right.
And this week you're throwing 20 pitches, standing up, nice and easy, 80%, and then, kind of be smart, build from there. The objective, let's say, game 1 against Westford, you want to be able to get to about 85 pitches, I'd say. So if you're doing your work to get there,
Right.
in that preparation.
Before we let you go, I know obviously Al and I are on the North Andover Athletic Association, and one of the sometimes people don't understand what we do and why we do it, but last year we purchased a pitching machine for the baseball team. Just talk about why you needed it, how it sort of impacts the program, and maybe a few people buy some tickets to the comedy show, knowing that these are the types of things that we do to supplement the athletics department's budget. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that, like the windscreens around the field. There's so many things, the little things you guys take care of. But the pitching machine was huge, and we wouldn't have been able to afford it. And Lynchy's my mom's with the
NAAA.
NAAA, and is there anything you guys need? And Dave is bone on bone in his shoulder. He can't throw curveballs anymore, and I never could throw a curveball. So, but this machine, it has the ability to throw curveballs and to get the velo up there. So when you're seeing, when you're going to play CM, we dialed it up. We didn't end up seeing their guy, but they had a guy going to UMass Lowell that could pop it up there pretty hard. So it's nice we can get that velo up there and just have them timing up fastballs. And so it's huge, And this is the machine, when Brett Dunham came back, he's like, we have this machine down at Northeastern. And Jake McElroy came back from Holy Cross. Yeah, we have the same machine, and
Nice.
we use it every day. Now it's a part of our thing that we're doing every day.
Right.
Just got to patch all the holes in the batting cage net in the gym so we don't break the beautiful new score.
That's right.
That's the other purchase.
That's our other big. That's our big buy.
All right, no excuses this year for if we don't have a team batting average at 375. No, just joking. But seriously, I mean, best of luck this season. We'll be following, and you get a great program. I mean, just the amount of kids that you see go on to college programs. Obviously, you're doing something right, Coach, and happy to see it, and happy that the program has been successful, and And they're all, all of them, and just like the McElroys and the, all these kids like the Lynches, they're all good kids. They're all
great
like
kids.
Jack Moore. I mean, good kids, good families. Like, it's just a good culture around the program. So, congratulations on that.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy teaching, but like those 2 hours every day after school, there's nothing better than being out on the field with those guys. So, yeah, it's awesome. I'm grateful, that I had the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
And it's the best part of the day.
Yeah, it's nice to hear. And I can honestly say there's not a coach in North Andover High that I'd ever had a problem with, but I've seen coaches around other teams and different places, and I love that attitude. You don't always get the feeling that the coaches are happy to be there and that they're there for the kids and they're getting something out of it. It's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Coach.
No,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you very much.
Best of luck, and don't forget to get.
Good luck with your fundraising this year.
Yeah, and
April 8th.
April 8th, the Clatter. Don't forget nanights.org. Get your tickets.
Good comedy lineup, I will say.
Oh,
This is what I'm being told. So,
all right.
So here's the thing. I don't like to brag. I kind of know the guy who's in charge of this, and I said to him, we want a good show. And he's like, I'll give you a good show. So I think we're going to be in good shape. So, it's not Kevin Hart coming, but it's going to be a decent show.
All right, sounds good. All right, till next time, we'll see you soon.